This channel is for educational purposes only. Make sure you do your own due diligence before making any investments. And there is inherent risk in trading, so it's speculative. Just make sure you keep that in mind. Hi, this is Joe Rabil with Invest Like a Pro. Today we're going to talk about a variation on the pullback trade. Sometimes a pullback takes place where it's more of a sideways consolidation rather than a really deep pullback. And I think you need to understand how to play this, because there are a lot of very attractive patterns that set up this way. And if you're waiting for one type of pullback and only one type of pullback, you're going to miss a lot of opportunities. So let me go ahead and get into the example. I think you'll have a much better idea of what I'm talking about. So this is MAS, Masco, good industrial stock. We've got on the monthly chart down here on the bottom left, we've got a strong move, and then it went through a consolidation pattern that was about 6 months long through this period after the move to the upside. So it didn't make a full pullback and didn't touch the 18, but nice sideways consolidation. Now, if we go and look at what took place on the weekly chart, normally what I'm looking for is a move where the 18 is coming down and your 40 is here, and the 18 actually crosses down below the 40, like so. So now 18 is below the 40, and then we're looking for a reversal pattern to set up in the price, and or for price to get back up through both moving averages. But sometimes the way it plays out is the 18 comes down and it just meets up with the 40. And some of the things, I just want to point out some things to help you recognize when this is the case. And I have it's straight out of my book, Invest Like a Pro. I have something straight out of the book here that I use as a kind of a fail-safe in this situation. And that is, if the price is consolidating like this and 18 gets back down to the 40, we want to just go ahead and draw in a trend line like this. And so we're looking at this pullback saying, okay, the 18 has at least come back down to the 40 or in the area, even back as it got closer here. It didn't have to actually touch, but we want it to be pretty close to touching. And then at that point, you can draw a trend line in. Now, at this point, as long as there's no further downside weakness, if price comes up through the trend line, that's your trigger. That's your entry pattern or signal to get in. One of the things I like to do, though, is I like to look at MACD. And I want to see the MACD while this is worked off and while this is working over towards getting these two moving averages to touch. I want to see the MACD, which is pretty far away from the zero line here. I want to see it work all the way back down and get very close to zero. So we can see that took place right in here. And then that was right about the point where the moving averages were coming together. So that is, to me, another way of looking at a potential entry point. And so I just wanted to make sure you understand it's a trend line break at this point. So I'm not looking for it to, do any kind of a higher low. I'm not looking for a pinch play. Now, what might happen is you might break the trend line and then get a pinch play after that. But in this situation, I would just be saying, okay, I've got the pattern that I really like, which is MACD coming down near the zero line after being overbought. I've got price pulling back and the moving averages getting closer together. And I've got low ADX. That's the three things I'm looking for. If I have low ADX, MACD near the zero line, and the two moving averages together, I'm drawing a trend line on price, and I'm looking to get long. The moment price crosses that moving average, I don't need a close on that. I don't need it to close that way. So that's kind of how I would look at this. Now, I do want to look at the daily chart, because if you know all this is taking place, we know that we've broken out here above these highs, and we know that we're kind of pulling back and holding support. We know we've got a pinch play developing on the monthly. And then we know we've got all this criteria taking place where MACD is holding the zero line, but it's coming down closer to it. We've got low ADX showing there's not a lot of selling strength, negative DI, barely, it couldn't even really cross back above the green line hardly. So we know we have that. We know we have our trend line. One thing you can do though is go down to the daily chart at this point. And if I were to put a trend line in, it would be taking this, it would be using this here. And we can do that in this situation. And if we want to actually maybe anticipate a little bit and understand that we've got low ADX on this time frame with green above red, the green DI above red DI, positive above negative through this consolidation. And you notice how this got really tight. And we talk about compression and where it's getting into a tight consolidation pattern. So we can be pretty aggressive here. And if we wanted to play this way and notice what's taking place on the daily chart, then we could actually, instead of using the stop way down here on a weekly chart, we could dramatically improve our risk reward and use the stop on the daily in this situation. It carries a little bit more risk that you could get dinged out of it, and then you'd have to take the second entry if it happens. But the way this plays out, you could get 2 or 3 targets in a hurry. You could make 3, 4, 5 times your money in a very short period of time if you use the tighter stop. So sometimes I find that really attractive to play it that way. So I do think that's a good way to look at this. And I just wanted to make sure you understand that the way I'm looking at this is the pullback trade. It's an alternative entry strategy. It's a trend line break, and you have to have the moving averages together, MACD near zero, and a low ADX pattern. If we have that, we can take a trend line break. All right. Just wanted to do a quick follow-up and make sure you guys understand that. Go ahead and post any questions or comments. We'll talk to you next time.